This is a very, very, very special press announcement for me. And because we believe that the approach to violence reduction is holistic. It's not just about policing and putting people in jail or any of those things. It's not just about our violence reduction plan. It is about how we're inclusive in our approach to dealing with the violence that exists in our city. And so one of the programs that we've done some research on and have looked at, and certainly was looked at before I even became mayor, was ROCA. And many of the philanthropic organizations had already committed to this particular effort. I think it was about $4 million. And so I was really excited about ROCA. And we too, as a city, have made a commitment to ROCA. Because ROCA is not just a program that focuses in on individuals between the ages of 17 and 24. It is an intense focus. It helps young people or 17 to 24-year-olds move beyond violence into productive training and intense oversight that will help them to become more productive members of our community. I want to thank its founder and CEO. I know her father very well, Molly Baldwin, where's Molly? Yeah, Molly, whose dad was a former banker, president and CEO right here in Baltimore. I still get to see him every now and then at Cross Keys for breakfast. Molly was the founder of this program, and it has proven to be a great success. And so as we continue to look at best practices around the nation, this is one of them. And so while the state at this point has not been able to at least provide us with the dollars, we want you to know that we're still working with the state on this particular program as well. This program depends a lot on state cooperation, which is why I'm glad that we have a good relationship at the state level. Last week, I think it was about a week ago now, Mr. President of the GBC, Don? About a week ago. I sat down with members of the executive committee of the GBC and talked to them about the importance of this program and what I believe that it will mean to Baltimore. And I want you to know, before the end of the day, there was a sum of money that was committed that got ROCA back focused on Baltimore. And so while I don't need to say the total amount, I can tell you that this is a $17 million program over a 4-year period. And I went to search for additional assistance because you all know the requests come over and over and over again from the city. People want more, they need more, and the fact of the matter is that the city's budget can only sustain so much. And so part of what I needed to do was to go out and talk to the private sector about the importance of this program. I know our commissioner is on board of the police department. Our state's attorney also believes very strongly in this program. I reviewed this program with the president of the city council, who is excited about this program. I know that members of the city council, including the public safety chair, are aware of this program. So we believe that this is part of heading our city in the right direction. So I wanted to begin by thanking some of the corporations who stepped up to the plate. Mr. President of Johns Hopkins University, Ron Daniels, thank you so much. Mr. President of Baltimore Gas and Electric, thank you so much. Tim never likes for you to even mention his name. But Tim Reagan, thank you so much for stepping up to the plate almost immediately. And there are others who are willing in the private sector and in the philanthropic community to step up to the plate. So I wanted to begin by asking Molly if she would share a few words, and then I thought we would hear from our police commissioner, Don, Calvin, Ron, and Clay Gayton, but I also thought it was important to hear from one of the members of our philanthropic community, and so we'll call on the Casey Foundation. But I cannot thank you all enough, all of you all in the philanthropic community and all the groups and organizations that sit around the table. And you'll see some other individuals here who sit around the table with me every other week, almost twice a month. Groups and organizations in our city who believe in the future of Baltimore. And I want to send a special shout out to the Weinberg Foundation and Rachel Monroe, who is supporting about 30 small groups and organizations, and we'll talk about that at another press conference. But again, let me say thank you, and we'll begin with our police commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good afternoon. I'll be brief. One of the many measurements of leadership is the ability and capacity of a leader to bring other leaders together with her for a common goal. So on behalf of everyone, I know that it's easy for me, Madam Mayor, to say thank you for your leadership. We believe that interrupting violent behaviors by young people is vitally important, not only for that young person himself or herself, but for public safety in our city. So ROCA has proven, they're past proven reliable to have done just that, and we are really excited about what they are going to do for public safety in Baltimore.
Thank you. Molly, would you share?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pugh, the City of Baltimore. Thank you to Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore Gas and Electric, the Annie E. Casey Foundation, the Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation, and the Abel Foundation. Thank you for your remarkable generosity, due diligence into our work, and your incredible commitment to help very high-risk young people. This is the beginning of an extraordinary partnership. Thank you again, Mayor Pugh, for all your belief in young people, for your belief in our work and kind words. We are humbled to be here with you all this afternoon. We are deeply honored to join the city in its tremendous efforts to find a way out of violence, shootings, and so many unnecessary deaths. Like all of you and everyone in Baltimore, we know that change is possible. 30 years ago, we started ROCA in Massachusetts to work with the young people who were left out. Since then, we've been privileged to work with thousands of young people and currently serve 1,000 young people each year. Whether we understand why or why not, whether we like it or not, something has gone terribly wrong for so many young people in our country. Too many of them have learned that violence is the only way to live, that shooting gains respect, that guns are normal, and that dying young is just what happens. We know the world is full of great programs, many of them here in Baltimore, programs for young people and even young people in trouble, for those who show up. But we also know that no one really works with the young people who are not ready, willing, or able to go to a program or keep a job, those who never show up. They are angry, they are left out, they are depressed and often cause harm, and no one wants to be with them. They are a small group that causes a large impact, and they are the whole purpose of our work at ROCA. Someone walks into ROCA ready to participate, we send them out the door to another program. But run from us and tell us to go to hell, you are in. ROCA is not only about how to reach the young people, it is about fundamentally changing ourselves. We build relationships with everyone, police, criminal justice, health, elected officials, businesses, employers, street outreach workers, parents, and everyone else who is either in the lives of these young people or should be. Because we have learned, even if it is hard, working together, excuse me, and leaning in saves lives. The challenge is, however, that we spend time with people who don't want to show up. So working on education and job skills becomes an interesting task. We have essentially built a Get Your Life Together school, working with education and employment and life skills in lots of little pieces. We drag young people out of bed. They can come for a day or for a week. They can get mad at us, threaten us, get high, disappear, and we go back and get them again. Some young people are in such dangerous gang relationships that they can't even come into programming. So we take it to their homes with a roaming teacher or provide a workforce readiness lesson in any safe place we can. We believe we owe the best to our young people, so we track them and we track ourselves to figure out if what we're doing is actually helpful. The data also shows that we are onto something. When Harvard looked at our numbers, they found that over 3 years, ROCA reduced future incarceration by 35% compared to a similar group of young people, and that ROCA was on track for a 65% reduction over 5 years. These young people can change. And the data isn't just data, our numbers are real lives. One of the things we do at ROCA is teach people emotional regulation skills so they can make a choice before they act. They have numbers from 1 to 10 and funny names like fill your tank and feel your emotions. But we have learned that simple is better. Last year, one of our youth workers got a call from Joe, a young person he had chased in the streets and in and out of prison for 2 years. Joe told his youth worker, "Hey, this ROCA thing really works." He shared that he had been in the park the night before with his girlfriend when another young person looked at him from across the park. Joe took this as big-time disrespect and called one of his friends and asked him to bring his backpack, his mask, and a gun. And while Joe was sitting there, he started to think, I'm sitting in the park and I'm thinking about skill 8, flex your thinking. Maybe that guy didn't even see me from across the park. And skill 9, problem solving. Maybe shooting him is not such a good idea. And Joe decided not to shoot. He did not shoot. That moment was worth all the years of relentless outreach, every change we had to make, every painful moment, every difficult conversation with young people, our partners, and ourselves. I grew up in Baltimore, and like all of you, I am devastated by the violence in the city. As you are so painfully aware, we can neither arrest nor program our way out of this. We need a different approach. We will work with the city and others to develop and implement a performance-based model using data and ensuring accountability. We will share what we learn and strive to be an excellent partner. Over the next few months, we will work to analyze data and understand more about these young people who are at the highest and critical risk. We will identify the appropriate site, finalize an implementation program plan. We will hire a local executive director and staff team. I, along with a few of my colleagues who are here, will lead the planning work, and I will live at least half-time in the city. Consistent with evidence-based practices for replication, we have a detailed step-by-step plan and have one staff member from Massachusetts who will move to work in Baltimore. We will work with anyone and everyone we can. The budget for this project is modeled to serve up to 300 young people in a few years. It is staff-intensive to do the relentless outreach, behavioral health work, and skills development needed to help young people learn to think different, to do different, and make meaningful change. We are honest, direct, and committed to learning everything we can to help young people change. We are humbled by the incredible efforts in the city to bring about change. We are inspired by your leadership, Mayor Pugh, and your willingness to lean in on these difficult and painful issues instead of run away from them. We know that there are so many people in the city, terrific organizations, committed people, public agencies, elected officials, businesses, foundations, community leaders, younger and older, parents and young people, who live in the city and believe in a different city and wake up every morning to make it a reality. I can't express in words how honored we are to join you. We are not magic, and if there's one thing we know is that change takes time. But in the midst of this extraordinary pain and violence, we know that change is possible. We are so grateful for this invitation to help and committed to be part of the solution. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Before I call on my philanthropic partners, I think it's important to hear from our state's attorney and our president city council. Okay? Just a few words.
So I am grateful. Thank you to the leadership of Mayor Catherine Pugh. We all know that all too often what's happening in our communities is unacceptable. The fact that, according to BPD data, we've charged more juveniles this year with attempted murder and murder than the past 2 years combined is unacceptable. And that investment in these young people is critical. And so I'm grateful and I'm optimistic that, you know, everybody has a stake in changing what is happening in our communities, and it starts with that investment in our young people. So thank you, Mayor Catherine Pugh.
Thank you. Mr. President and the Chair of Public Safety can join him.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank all of our partners. I want to thank ROCA for coming to Baltimore, what they did in Boston. I'm looking forward to them implementing here in the city of Baltimore. And I just want to thank everyone who is putting up capital to help us with this problem. I just want to thank you for that, and let's continue to work to improve Baltimore City and reduce the crime in our most needed neighborhoods throughout the city of Baltimore. Thank you again, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Public Safety Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. If my Vice President, Mr. Biden, was here, he would say this is a big deal. We know that gun violence in Baltimore is a disease, and we're thankful to the mayor and everyone here today for taking this next step and truly trying to reduce that. And we know that we're not going to simply reduce that through policing, that we have to get to the crux of this issue, and that's with our young people. So we're very, very welcoming of ROCA to come into Baltimore and thankful, and we look forward to having more positive stories and conversations about this program as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And so I wanted to, and we'll have Drew say a few words. Drew is my head of the Mayor's Coordinating, you know how I say it, Criminal Justice. My Office of Criminal Justice. We changed that name some years ago. But this is where the program will lie, and we look forward to your intense leadership. And I don't know if you want to say a few words.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to everyone that's here that made this possible. Like the Mayor said, we're extremely excited about this program. What makes it different is its data-driven focus on the individuals, the young people in our community most at risk for violence. And that's really what sets ROCA apart, and that is what's consistent with the violence reduction strategy for the city. We will be supporting ROCA as a nonprofit organization in the city, helping them to build community partnerships throughout the city, as well as to coordinate with the police department and the state's attorney's office, our state partners. There's a big involvement from the state as well with the Department of Juvenile Services and Parole and Probation, and we're looking forward to getting to work.
Thank you. And now drum roll for my philanthropic partners. This could not happen without you. And so I want to have Don Fry, the president of GBC, say a few words, and then we'll move forward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and certainly thank you, and thank all of you for joining us, and thanks to ROCA for its confidence and support of Baltimore. The Mayor introduced some of our board members, Ron Daniels, Calvin Butler, Tim Regan, Bob Embry. Also, we're joined by Paul Taberzi, who's the new chair of the GBC board. We agree wholeheartedly with the Mayor that public safety is the #1 issue facing the city of Baltimore. We're looking to work collaboratively with her in that effort. Our board has also identified that as the top item of interest for our board. There are too many positive things that are happening in Baltimore that unfortunately they get overlooked because of the crime that occurs on a daily basis. There's no easy solution, no magic elixir, but important steps need to be taken, and today is, I think, a very good step and a very important step in that process, and we commend the Mayor's determined efforts to bring ROCA to Baltimore. If you're not familiar with the Mayor's determined efforts, I can tell you the Mayor is a very determined person, and we're great to have her do that. She's asked the GBC for support of ROCA and other public safety initiatives, including her legislative agenda. We're pleased to serve as a bridge to bring together the Mayor and some of the business executives of the city to support that. Mayor talks a lot about collaboration. If you look behind me, you'll see that this is a great example of that collaboration. And this is not the end. We look forward to working with the Mayor continuously on efforts dealing with public safety and to move her agenda forward and to make Baltimore a safer city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Daniels, President Johns Hopkins University.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let me just say very briefly, first and foremost, what an honor it is for us to be able to join with so many other civic leaders, philanthropy leaders, business leaders, and of course you, to be able to make this program a reality. Molly, I should say, we have been hearing for years about how great this program is. I can remember very distinctly a few years ago when Patrick McCarthy, head of the Annie Casey Foundation, came to see me and was positively breathless with enthusiasm about this program that he'd heard about and knew that it was such an important initiative because it sets a different kind of priority, a different kind of statement about how we think about safety and think about our youth than just the traditional focus on policing, which is so important, but this very much a complement to that. And it's taken some time, obviously, from that conversation, where's Patrick? Some time from that conversation, which was a few years ago, to today, but we're here, I think, very much, Madam Mayor, because of you. and your determination to bring this program to Baltimore and to persuade Molly it was time to come home and not flirt with any other jurisdictions, that this was the right place and the right time to be here. But I think it also says a lot about the big heart of this city. We often talk a lot about our challenges, but I think we sometimes lose sight of the great assets that we have, and that we're able to be here as an education and healthcare institution, shoulder to shoulder with you, Madam Mayor, but with the philanthropic and the business community, is something that I think really sets Baltimore apart. And I hope the residents of the city, and particularly the residents who are most deeply afflicted by the crime that we're seeing, understand how deeply felt this commitment is on our part, and really underscores our collective determination to realize the full possibilities for this wonderful city that we're fortunate to call home. So thank you for allowing us to be part of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Kelvin Butler, President of BG&E.
I haven't got an intro.
Right, you got an intro this time.
Good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, Calvin Butler, CEO of Baltimore Gas and Electric. I've had the pleasure of being CEO for the last 4 years, a resident of Maryland for the last 5, and I can wholeheartedly say Baltimore is a great city. We're here today as a 201-year-old institution to let you know, Madam Mayor, that we support you. You talked about it, and let me just back up. It all starts with leadership, and a leadership that is committed to moving the city forward and addressing and tackling the difficult issues. And this is the most difficult. And we wanted you to know, as an organization and as a business community, that you're not in this alone. It's one thing to put money into something, but as we know, money is just the first step. We all have to roll up our sleeves with you to sit back and provide these same young people job training, job opportunities, help grow businesses, the partnership with Be Local, the partnerships with other small companies that are started here in the city of Baltimore, providing those jobs. Make sure that we as an institution are committed to providing that jobs, internships, and the like, because without the economic opportunity to go along with great programs like ROCA, so to put our dollars and our deeds together will really move this forward. And no step of the way should you ever feel that you're alone in this journey. And this was our effort to sit back and say to you, we support you. We support the efforts of everyone standing in this room. When you look around this room, it just goes to show you the power of collaboration and teamwork. And BGE is proud to be a part of that and every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim, did you want to say anything? Okay. Tim's so quiet. Patrick, Casey Foundation.
From my point of view, the single most important element in dealing with violence is hope. If we don't have hope, we don't have a sense of the future. And that's why it's been actually 10 years, Molly, that the Casey Foundation has had its eye on ROCA as a promising and then an evidence-based and a proven program. And when I heard that ROCA was interested in exploring coming to Baltimore, I did become breathless, Ron, with excitement about the possibility of bringing ROCA here. The hope, Madam Mayor, that you bring to this work, and that all of these partners, my partners in the philanthropic community, Rachel Monroe from the Weinberg Foundation, Bob Embry from the Abel Foundation, John Brothers from T. Rowe Price, et cetera, all of us coming together with the business community, with the university community. We'll be working with the faith community, with the public sector. This is what gives our city hope. Thank you.
Well, I also wanted to just give a shout out to my community organizations. I see Keys Development, I see Umar Boxing, all of these folks are working. Mr. Clayton, with his 40 individuals who work with him every Saturday morning. I want to thank you all for continuing to come to the table with us. I see my state partners, state delegates, and so forth here, and other members of our business community that are here with us. We are very serious about this effort. And so again, I can't thank you all enough for helping me to make this reality. Rachel, others, everybody, I could just call names. John, thank you. Council people, Downtown Partnership, we're all in this together. So again, thank you, and let me just remind you all that this is a $17 million 4-year effort, and with over a 4-year period, with already $4 million being committed by the philanthropic community, another close to $6 million or more by some of the business folks in our communities, and we believe more to come. This is one effort. We have others. So again, I know you all get tired of me calling you up, whether it's 7 a.m. in the morning for some, 6 for others. And Don, you know, sometimes those midnight phone calls just saying, you know, I'm very serious about this. I need your help. We can't do this work by ourselves. But again, a hearty thank you to all of you. And we look forward to working with all of our partners. Thank you. Any questions?
How will this program be different than what's been tried before? There have been a lot of programs that have tried to help at-risk youth in Baltimore. All well-intended, some have worked, some haven't. What's going to make this one different? What's going to make this one successful?
So from our understanding, we've met with a lot of people in Baltimore in the past, and we look forward to meeting with everybody again soon. ROCA's kind of lane, if you will, is really the group of young people who don't want to show up. And so the city has some awesome organizations around job placement and job training and youth development and community organizing, but they really are geared for people to show up. We are totally geared for those who want nothing to do, really angry. We've built relentless outreach as our kind of signature. We should warn you, we're that way with every grown-up we meet too, just in case you're wondering. We essentially have a 3-tiered approach. One is an individual behavior change model to really hang in there, go after young people long enough and teach them the skills to think different, to act different, and then get the skills to hold jobs. And that takes from 3 to 4 years. Secondly, as you can tell, we use data a lot and metrics and accountability, and we study ourselves pretty closely. And then the third piece is that we know you can't do this without partners, so that our partnerships with systems, criminal justice, police, parole, probation, businesses is really critical. And I can assure you we are as tenacious with all of those partners as we are with young people. Most programs, and understandably so, are set up for people who are ready to show up. Some may need a little push, they may need a little nudge. Awesome. If somebody comes to us in that kind of shape, we're going to want to get them to one of those programs. We're really built for the group that needs somebody hanging around. One of our youth workers about a year in, I was sort of asking him one day, how's it going? He said, well, that kind of 100 times of the door being slammed in your face, that took a little time to get used to, but I've got it now. And literally we will do that. Young people will tell you that, police partners will tell you that, like we just go at it, and that's really what we're built to do. And so we are privileged to be here.
Is this like a Safe Streets model where you're going to have different, the different districts being set up so you have a ROCA kind of like in each district? Is that kind of what the model is?
So we're really excited to work with Safe Streets. We think we're an excellent partner for street outreach workers who do a lot of mediation and negotiation. We're really a long-term behavior change organization. We're not a neighborhood-based program. What we need to do is work with the police and probation and parole and several other people to really do an updated data analysis to know a lot more about these young people who the city is losing and what's happening with them. And then we have a very specific model, but it gets implemented different ways, giving different safety issues and gang structures. And so based on that, we'll try to determine a most appropriate location and the type of site. So if you went to the 5 different ROCA sites, you would see very different things, although the work is the same.
So just a few more nuts and bolts questions. So I think you said you'd be working with 300 kids in a few years. How many at a time do you think?
Well, no, we'll start with 75. The program now is 2-year intensive and 2-year less intensive, unless our data shows 3-year less, 1 year less intensive. We'll start with 75 a year and then bring it up to a total of about 300 intensively a year. And I can't exactly remember, if we kind of calculated attrition rates, it's close to 500 young people over a 4-year period. Our hope is to demonstrate that we are successful and to work with you all, and then to have a long-term strategy to be here.
And it sounds like you have a lot of groundwork to do. Like, when do you think you'll actually be, when will the first young person kind of come into contact?
So we have 2 answers to that. One is we'd like to sort of officially start programming, ideally in July. We have a few things to get together, but we're going to go as fast as we can, but carefully. And secondly, we really hope in our planning to work with some of the state partners to be able to start working with young people and doing some group work behind the wall. Because we think that would be helpful for us and helpful for young people and get started. So
And
that's
it
the
sounds
plan.
like you'll have like an office or a facility where you do your work, is that
Right, so we do have a facility where we do the work, and depending on sort of risk mitigation strategies and kind of the gang analysis and drug shop analysis and a safety analysis, so they operate differently. The core of the program is the same. So one of our major sites, obviously in Boston, we've got about 40 young people who would literally have to take programming to them. We're running a real-time data analysis on the safety and who can be with who, and if there was something that happened in the street or something that happened in prison that would set off everybody else. So we do everything we can to keep people safe. So that's exactly the homework we need to do.
In Boston a couple of years ago, there were two rival gang members that were working on a snow shoveling detail through ROCA, and one had the other killed. I'm curious, did you learn anything from that, and how would you prevent something like that from happening here in Baltimore? Because obviously there's a lot of gang activity here.
Well, first of all, that's the homework we need to do. It was an extraordinarily tragic event. And we had a lot of safety things in place already, but we have now upped our safety strategies since then. And unfortunately, these two young men were just found guilty last week and sentenced. And so what happened is a person on a work crew essentially ordered a hit, if you will, from somebody who was off the work crew. And at that point, we were very focused about safety on the work crew. And so technically nobody on the work crew had a gun at that point. And so now immediately we sort of changed our whole strategy to kind of think about the inside-outside piece, like who's in and who's out. And that's a big piece of the homework we need to do.
As I say, is that a concern coming into Baltimore? I mean, I'm sure you've done your homework on what kind of gang activity you'll be dealing with here as well.
Yes, I mean, and it should be. I mean, you all are tragically suffering a lot of violence. We have a lot of updated learning to do and a lot of work, and we are excited to work with partners to understand that. But the safety is really critical. Yes.
Matthew, can we talk a bit more about the funding? So you outlined where I think 10 of the 17 million is going to come from. Is that 7 million outstanding something you're still looking for, or?
Well, we're still looking for some support, but I can tell you that part of that is the work piece, that you don't see the dollars that are committed, like we're looking at work partners, because this is also about providing jobs for these individuals, and that's a part of it. I mean, we've committed to that as well. The city will put some funding into that as well. So yeah, we're still, in fact, we had a meeting earlier today around this and some other program dollars that we're looking for.
And you're looking for state money too?
Of course.
But I'm still not completely clear like what got us to this point. Like I think the last we heard, the governor wasn't willing to kick in the money for this, and it was all very much up in the air. What's changed? Like, is there new money that you?
Yes, the business community put up additional dollars, and the city has made an additional commitment. So the $10 million that we were looking at from the governor's perspective was about we looked at the philanthropic community providing about 6.6 million of that over a 4-year period, and then the city with jobs and so forth another 3.4.
How many jobs for Baltimore, residents maybe in Baltimore, are you hoping to, for this to provide for them?
Well, everybody that will be hired through this program, other than the oversight, will be Baltimore local individuals.
Right, so do you have any idea of how many that might be?
Do you have any idea what the total number?
Sorry, I didn't have that data. I think it'll get up to about 34 full-time staff once we're serving that many people.
So just to go back to the 17 million, how much of that will actually be the operating budget for both?
We'll break that out for you. Any other questions?
Did you say you're from Baltimore? Right?
Yes.
What's right about the timing now, or maybe the better question is, what was not right about the timing to do this before now?
I have learned at this point in my life, you just have to trust the timing, and so for whatever sets of reasons, I don't think it matters. The timing is right now. I think the mayor's interest and drive to kind of push this over the line is excellent, and as an organization, we're just deeply honored and deeply committed, and we're very clear It's now time to do probably the hardest work we've ever done, and we look forward to all your help.
Yes. I see a very eclectic group, which I've never seen before. But my curiosity is city schools. How you been working with the city schools program in order to implement this?
So our model is based on young people who won't go to school. So if you can go to school, or you can go to school if somebody's driving you a little crazy, you should stay in the school program. We're really for young people who are not attending school, refuse to go to a job program, or, we've got a lot of young friends who start a job, and sometimes it lasts an hour, sometimes it's a few days. So we're really built for the group who can't succeed somewhere else. And so whatever support we can be, if people are really failing out of that system, we might be an appropriate option, but we want to make sure we're really serving the group that makes the most sense for our model.
So where do you recruit them from? So who refers them to you, or do you go dragooning people like the streets?
I think she said earlier, it's based on the data that we look at, and that, these are people that we go after, whether it's coming out of the juvenile justice system or people that are referred from people in the street. These aren't people who are running up to a program. As Molly said earlier, if there are people running and ready, then we have someplace else we can send them. But these are individuals that really need to be focused on, because nobody's paying real close attention to those individuals, the ones who are coming out of the criminal justice system, the ones who are going back into the criminal justice system. Those are the individuals we're going after. What we're trying to do is help improve their lives by providing them with job opportunities and intense training and intense focus on their behavior and how we go about the business of training them. So I'm going to have to end this press conference because we have another one in a few minutes, but thank you all for being here, and we look forward to the success of ROCA. Thank you.